Hello and welcome to Misfits on Vinyl. My name is Spencer Streichert. I am a comedian and one of your hosts.
I'm Aaron Walsh. I'm also a host, not a comedian.
But an actor.
I was thinking about that last week. I was like, I don't know if I describe myself as that anymore, but
I mean, I would say that if you've done it, you're an actor.
fair enough.
You know what I hate is when I tell people that I'm an actor and then they go, oh, that's cool. When I was in high school, I used to do plays. I'm like, yeah, that's like saying I have a cat, so I'm basically a vet, you know?
Similar, yes. I can agree to that.
Like,
I can agree to
I'm
that.
like, that's not the same thing. Like,
Fair enough.
You did not have millions of dollars on the line if you fucked up in your high school play.
No, but I've also never had millions of dollars on the line for anything I've done in my life. So
Except for this podcast.
That's true.
True. Just so that everybody knows, since the first episode, things have gotten a lot better. We have mic stands now. Brought to you by Sam the Tech Man because
we got a pee-pee whack.
We got a pee-pee whack.
Right
on the tip of the pee-pee.
Right at the first episode, we were like Roger Daltrey swinging the mics around a little willy-nilly with the audio.
And Sam had to do a lot of fixing.
Yeah.
Now we've learned, but we also get to give him shit because as we were about to start 2 hours ago, Sam forgot the interface and had to go home and then come back. So we're starting 2 hours late because of Sam the Tech Man.
So before we started, we all stood in a circle and with rulers and whacked each other's pee-pees
Yeah.
for half an hour. That also delayed the start today.
Which, by the way, if you've ever heard a penis getting whacked with a fucking ruler, it sounds amazing.
It does. It sounds
It's got a nice little to it.
I don't know if it sounds like that. It sounds more like a schlap, you know?
Well, yours sounds like a slap. Mine sounds like a.
It's like a little bell. Like,
Yeah, I got a little dingle dangle. Okay, he fucking goes back and forth between the nutsies. I got two really.
It
big
rests on
nuts
top
and a
real
tiny
nicely.
tip.
Yeah, it's got a little perch, like an eagle. Like an eagle. That's how you should describe it,
Dude. It's like my dick kind of looks like Elf's nose.
You know what? I like that.
My dick's like a button in a fur coat.
Nice. I like that.
My dick looks like the worm from Tremors.
Keep going. I want to see how many you can come up with.
My dick's so small you'd think it's Jason Kenny's approval ratings.
Ooh.
Very tiny. Fuck yeah.
That's also very topical going into the leadership race.
Very, very topical. Very topical.
But
Yeah.
not for our podcast.
Not for our podcast.
Not on topic for our podcast.
No, because everybody that's listening, like as we found out from the first episode, we have fans literally all around the world.
Sure do.
Yeah. Czechoslovakia, thank you so much. That is not a country anymore.
Yugoslavia. I want to shout out to Yugoslavia and all the parts of the USSR.
Yeah, I really our friends in the Ukraine, thank you for listening while you're fighting a war. I appreciate that.
And shout out to the new annexed territories in Russia. Putin's really doing it legitly.
He's really Putin in the work.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Let's Putin that one away.
let's start things off by mentioning because Sam the Tech Man is actually a brewist.
A brewer.
A brewer. I liked brewist.
It sounds a little more official.
It does.
Sam works at a local brewery, also one of my favorite breweries, makes delicious
One of
beers.
mine too.
So we got a nice beer from Cabin this week.
This is the Wanderlust.
Wanderlust. It is
Das
a
good
fest
beer.
A fest beer. It's a strong beer, 6%, just how I like it.
And I'm excited because we not only have a great beer brought to you by Cabin Brewing, we also have good mugs for the pod.
Brought to you by my girlfriend and Indigo.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna crack these and pour these. What we do, I'm gonna plug some dates here coming up in Calgary. I got on the 21st of October. I'm gonna be at Confluence Distilling. And then on the 23rd of October, I'm going to be at Born Brewing. So we got a couple of comedy shows for any Calgary listeners out there. I like this is actually going to fit a whole beer.
I know.
This is going to be hard to drink from. It's got a square top, but
Yeah, the mugs aren't really great for drinking, but we're going to see how it goes.
we're going to see how it goes.
Here, cheers.
Yeah, cheers. You know what? Cheers. That actually sounded good, too.
Yeah, it did. Ooh, good work, Sam. That's
Yeah.
delicious.
That is very tasty beer.
It's super tasty. Good work,
Damn.
Sam.
That is wonderful. Wanderlust is wonderful. Okay, so in the past week, well, it's been 2 weeks.
Yes.
So Aaron was actually very early for the podcast.
Yeah, last Saturday.
This is the best thing. So I had a gig in Cranbrook last week with Brittany Lysing. I was opening for her. She fucking killed it, by the way. Shout out to Brittany.
Shout out Brittany.
Shout out Brittany. Brittany and I were like about an hour and a half out of the city. And I get a phone call from Aaron, and he's like, "Hey man, yeah, I'm just a little bit early. It's like 12:30 in the afternoon." He's like, "Yeah, I'm just a little bit early. Are you home?" I was like, "No." He's like, "All right. Well, I got here because we're doing the podcast." I'm like, "No, man, we're doing next week. We're doing two of them." And the best part about this though is that Brittany and I, literally before you phoned, had been talking about how when people don't actively listen when you're talking to them. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is the best timing ever.
I am very guilty of that. And then, funny enough, kind of ironic, I was like 20 minutes late today. So, also pretty funny. Yeah, I was also late today.
But I'm going to go with that you were a week early.
Yeah, I was a week early.
You were a week early. I think that's a better way to go from. By the way, gig in Cranbrook, great.
Nice.
Really
Glad
good.
to hear it.
Really good. Sold out show.
Nice.
Which was nice. Surprisingly really fun audience. They were older. Much older. Well, not all of them, but most of them were like, 50s and upwards. Mm-hmm. And that's not usually my demographic.
No,
not my demographic at all. Venue was really cool. It was like a long venue. And afterwards, the guy that was the host at the gig, he used to be a military vet. He is a military vet. He used to be in the military. Fuck. I don't know if you can get discharged from being a vet.
No, I don't think you can.
I don't think you can. But he was a military vet. It was super dope, though. We went to this place to go have food, and I had this, like, chili that had elk.
All right, Joe Rogan, keep going. Keep going. That elk, yeah.
It had elk, boar, beef. There was, like, 3 other meats in it. Dude, I have never had a more beautiful poop the next morning at 6 a.m.
How was the meat sweats, though, when you were eating it, though?
Dude, I got done this chili, and I was drenched. Like, I was drenched. It was so much more meat than there was beans. Like, the fiber content in that was not very high.
Nice.
I was definitely shitting heavy the next day. And then Brittany slept in through her alarm. We had to get back to Calgary for, like, she was going to a brunch.
Speeding the whole way back.
I was literally like, do I need to wake her up? I'm like, no, you know what? She's probably really tired. So I just sat in the hotel room and watched fucking Knowledge Network for a few hours. I was watching some New Zealand soap opera.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I like that.
A lot of people died.
I watched a New Zealand soap opera recently, actually. The Lord of the Rings. I watched all 3. Awesome. Awesome as I remember.
You know what? Have you seen... Sorry, the computer was about to shut off. Have you seen the new series yet?
I have not.
Yeah, I don't really want to watch it.
Neither do I. I will say that one thing. The third one, The Return of the King... It kind of sucks. Not to be controversial, is not as good as the first 2. The first
Academy
2 are way
Award-winning
better.
film sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the other 2.
I think Two Towers is the best.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But he kind of goes into his, like, horror, kind of campy horror past a little bit in the third one. But one thing I do love, and I've been saying this all week, I love the way, well, I know they're not called elephants, but I love the way Sam says, "Look, Mr. Frodo, it's an olifant." It's like, I've been saying it all week. I'm like, it's like so funny to me for some reason. But
dude, my favorite thing about that movie is like the Clerks to Randall shitting on the Lord of the Rings, because I love those movies, but I couldn't help but laugh my ass off.
It is funny.
It's so good.
I haven't seen Clerks 2 in a long time.
That's one of my favorite movies. Shout out to Kevin Smith, sponsor of the podcast. He's a Patreon subscriber.
Sure is.
He sure is.
Sure is. Comic book men.
It's honestly probably the best thing that he's done in 15 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, so as you know, what? Tusk. All right, Tusk. Yeah, I forgot about that. I did like it the first time. Red State, actually. You know what? Red State, great movie.
Never seen it.
Really good. Okay, so as you know, Misfits on Vinyl, each week we review one of our favorite albums.
Yes, sir.
And we go through the events that shaped it, the artists themselves. We go through a little bit of everything, and then at the end we give it a review. This week, I guess we got the big reveal now.
Yeah.
Big reveal.
Big reveal.
Big reveal.
Can you grab it?
I think I can. This week, we are going to be doing Rumors by Fleetwood Mac.
Round of applause.
God, I don't know what the fuck is happening now.
The can.
Jesus Christ. You know what? Leave it. Fuck it.
That's fine.
We deserve that. That's our fault. Yeah, Rumors from Fleetwood Mac. It was their... Well, I mean, let's just get into it. It was their 11th studio album, which I didn't know until we were doing this podcast. I thought it was their second album.
Yeah. Well, second Buckingham Nicks, right?
Yeah. Second Buckingham Nicks, which is real Fleetwood Mac.
I agree.
Everything beforehand, I started listening to some of their older stuff. And it was very bluesy, which was not bad. But their biggest hit, Albatross, is a 3-minute instrumental that just repeats itself. It's not great.
So they've stepped it up coming into this album. The album before that had Rhiannon,
Landslide. Yep, both really good songs that are on their greatest hits.
Yep.
Albatross is actually, I think, on their greatest hits, which is weird. But... really good first album that came out of the gate with them. This album was originally going to be a pop album. Definitely not a pop album.
No.
Definitely more like folk rock.
Folk rock, definitely some late 70s rock sort of vibes. A little, I'd say it is, some songs are definitely a little pop rocky.
Yeah.
But overall it's got a strong folk influence all over it.
Yeah. Strong folk influence.
Also strong cocaine influence.
Very strong cocaine influence.
And a little tinge of divorce and breaking up.
Yeah, just a little bit. God damn. Like, how depressing that must have been to be in that studio.
Yeah, we were talking about this before we hopped on, but so Mick Fleetwood is getting divorced.
Yep.
John McVie, Chris McVie getting divorced. Buckingham, Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks breaking up. They're in an on again, off again sort of relationship, but they're in the off again part.
They're in the off again part until they get back on again for a little bit, and then
they're off again.
Then they're off again. It's really interesting because this album, first of all, it is the breakup album. Everything about it is like every single song is about recovering from some form of a breakup, or relapsing into your partner.
Yeah.
Like Secondhand News is totally just a relapse song. It's like, hey, I know that you're not into me anymore, but I'll fuck you at any point.
Yeah.
That's all that song is. You got the one song that does not really fit that we talked about earlier, The Chain. Like, you can never break the chain. You fucking can.
Yeah. And
they broke it.
They have.
They've broken a lot.
Yeah.
They've broken it recently. In 2018, they got rid of Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah, he's no longer in the band.
No longer in the band, even though he's the hands down best part of the band.
Yep.
I was watching an interview that they did on Good Morning America, and it was all five of them. Christy, Stevie, Lindsey, John, and Mick. And Mick was the only person who looked like he wanted to be there. Everyone else looked very angry.
Yeah.
Stevie and Christy were being very catty to each other, which is funny because now they're like in their 70s, so
they can't get over it too. And you think like it's arguably worse now. I mean, back then at least they were working together, making new music. Now they're just touring. So
now they're just touring.
It's a miserable existence.
Terrible existence.
Yeah.
It's literally that the only thing I can compare it to is like the road comics who like used to be good. They never, like, they got their hour, they never changed it, and now they're still doing it 30 years later, but they're playing, like, bumfuck pubs.
Yeah.
It's that, except if they were famous.
Yeah, and I mean, they're still doing, like, they sold out the Saddle Dome a couple of years ago, that sort of thing. They're still doing big shows, but, like, imagine getting divorced, like, 40 years ago, and having to hang out with your ex every day for, like,
fucking day.
6 to 8 months. How miserable would that be?
Okay, so one of the things that we got to talk about with this album is, so Fleetwood Mac's lineup at the time consisted of guitarist and vocalist Lindsey Buckingham, drummer Mick Fleetwood, keyboard player and vocalist Christy McVie, bass guitarist John McVie, and vocalist Stevie Nicks. After 6 months of non-stop touring, the McVies divorced, which we've talked about, ending 8 years of marriage. Buckingham and Nicks, who had just joined the band, also broke up. And then Oh, fuck. Now I lost where I was.
Mick Fleetwood.
Mick Fleetwood, yep.
He's getting divorced as well.
Getting divorced from his wife and mother of his 2 children.
And he's also struggling with alcoholism.
Yep.
And there's a huge drug problem throughout the entire band. I mean, I can't imagine how good the coke was in like 1970, 76, but they were doing all of it.
I imagine that pure cocaine would have been better.
Yeah. They were really deep in the coke.
Really deep.
All the time, especially
they were
recording.
Nose deep in it.
Yeah, nose deep. Definitely nose deep in it. For the a good chunk of the recording process, the touring after, and I mean the subsequent years after, they all struggled with addiction problems. Some of them dabbling into horse tranquilizers.
Yeah, one member in particular, who then had a really interesting solo career that I actually really enjoy.
I love The Edge of 17.
I love The Edge of 17, just like a one-legged dog.
Mm-hmm. I also love it in School of Rock.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And, what's her face? He's in High Fidelity. What's his name?
John Cusack.
Yeah, his sister Joan.
Yeah,
Joan. That's who it is. Yeah, she sings that in School of Rock.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So other thing that I found out about this album, they had fired their longtime producer, Keith Olsen, because he didn't want to have any emphasis on the rhythm section.
That's interesting. I
Because
didn't know that.
That's literally the biggest part of the album.
Yeah.
From a musical standpoint, the rhythm section. This is a rhythm-based album. So they got rid of him. And then Mick and John formed a company called CD Management.
Nice. It's a good name.
And that's what they then were producing under.
Okay. And this was recorded in San Francisco or in the area, right?
Yeah, it was in the Bay Area somewhere.
Bay Area, okay. Nice.
And the 3 guys lived in the bunkhouse that was near the studio, like on the same property. But Christy and Stevie lived near the ocean, miles away, in 2 separate apartments. Nobody really wanted to spend time with each other, I don't think.
No, and one thing I learned too is John and Christy, they only talked about music. That was it. They didn't talk about their personal lives. They barely spoke at all unless it had to do something with composing the songs or an artistic choice on the album. Other than that, they were not on speaking terms, which is interesting. This is their arguably their best album, definitely their most successful
successful for sure.
You could make arguments on what's
people call it their
best,
magnum opus,
what's their best album.
Yeah.
But and they were in the middle of this infighting and serious tension going on, but they seem to like that, and they've talked about that when Fleetwood Mac's at their best, when nobody can get along,
which is weird. Sorry, there was a weird pause there. And
Okay.
I fucking hated that.
I thought you were gonna talk, but you didn't.
No, I just had to move the thing down to my notes.
It's technical difficulties.
Difficulties.
Sam, fix
Sam,
that.
Sam the tech man. What the
Fix
fuck?
it.
Why is my computer turning off all the time?
Beats the fuck out of me.
Okay.
Sleep mode.
That's fair.
You can turn off sleep.
Oh yeah, I probably should have done that. Yeah.
Turning off sleep. That's what they were doing when they were recording the album and doing all that coke.
Doing all that coke. No sleep required.
No sleep required. But they did have very long hours
Yeah.
and a long recording process. So there was quite a bit of time put into this album. And even after they finished a lot of the recordings, Buckingham stuck around, McVie stuck around, Fleetwood stuck around to keep working on the album for additional 4 or 5 months. They were there tweaking things, fixing the mix, that sort of thing. So it was very interesting that they split up that way, and they kept working on the album.
Well, and something else that I found out is just before they got rid of that producer, they were originally going to be recording it in Florida, which I think would have been a very different sound.
There would have been different energy going on there.
Very different energy. Because I think, first of all, cocaine was pretty prevalent everywhere in the 70s, but I feel like it would have been even worse in Florida, because that was just at the very start of when cocaine started to just fucking sprinkle into that area,
Yeah, before the 80s, where it really popped off.
Where it really popped off.
They were drug hipsters. Yeah, they were drug hipsters. They got into the coke before it was big.
Yeah.
Before it became crack, they were into coke.
Before it became a low man's drug.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the artist. Because I feel like we've talked about it a bit, but we gotta go back to the roots, because I didn't realize they had formed in 1967. They had recorded 10 albums. Their 10th album was the one that Nix and Buckingham came on to. Before that, they were like a blues band. They were very bluesy. Like I mentioned with Albatross, that weird like song. But so Fleetwood Mac technically has 2 albums that are self-titled. Their 10th and their first, which is really weird. But their original lineup consisted of Peter Green, who is phenomenal as a guitarist, very, very well established with other bands in that era. Fleetwood Mac, or Mick Fleetwood, fuck me, Fleetwood Mac. Mick Fleetwood was on the drums. Jeremy Spencer was a guitarist, and John McVie was the bassist. And he joined right before they released their debut album.
Nice.
So the original lineup, very different, very different sound, very different inspiration for like what they were trying to do, and it was all British at the time too.
Yep.
And then they experienced success with Albatross. Then they've had 3 guitar players leave in succession by 1974. And it was like they would have a guitar player that would do 2 albums and then fuck off. So they were basically having sessional guitarists, and then they would have a touring guitarist that would come in and replace them, and then they would record, and then they would be replaced. Very weird dynamic. I kind of feel like Mick Fleetwood and John McVie maybe are a part of this.
Yeah, you think they had... I mean, they're definitely the constants.
They're the constants. They seem like the people who have been like shit from the beginning. Then Mick Fleetwood went to Los Angeles. He was scouting for guitarists, and he ended up finding Lindsey Buckingham, and he approached him and said, hey, I really want you to be the guitarist for Fleetwood Mac. At the time, him and Stevie Nicks were a folk rock duo.
Yep.
And so Buckingham said, well, I'll do it if Stevie can be the vocalist. They agreed, and then they all came together and released the self-titled album Fleetwood Mac, which we all know with Landslide and Rhiannon. What's really funny about that, can you imagine if anyone had said no?
Yeah, imagine if that didn't happen
If
at
that
all.
didn't fucking happen. It would have been horrible.
Well, think about all the, hits that are just Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah.
Their influence on the band, like they completely changed the sound, and the band grew to a bigger mainstream audience.
Yeah.
They became hugely popular. They're, one of the best-selling bands out there. Like, they got incredible catalog of music that came after Buckingham and Nicks joined.
And everyone fucking sucked. Like, everyone else in the band comparatively sucks.
Yeah.
Mick Fleetwood is one of the worst drummers ever. All of his drumming is so fucking basic.
He's like Ringo Starr.
He's like Ringo Starr.
He's just like Ringo Starr.
He's just fucking there, and you don't know why. And it's literally like, why is the drummer's last name the fucking name of the band? I don't like that.
No, I don't really like it that much either.
It should be called Buckingham
Palace
or something,
The New York Knicks. He called it the New York Knicks. Something stupid like that. No, I agree. But they had
I feel like they'd nix that idea.
I'm gonna nix you if you keep that up. Anywho, you sure your audience isn't 50-something boomers, because your jokes have Facebook written all over it.
Oh, dude, my jokes are really bad when I'm trying. I love that.
Should we do a notable track list?
Well, we're still going through the
nice.
Let me just do a quick read of this. Okay, so after they did this album, their lineup kind of remained stable for a while, but by the late 80s it began to disintegrate.
Yep.
And that's where like Buckingham and Nicks left.
They went solo.
Both of them very successful solo. I love Lindsey Buckingham's debut album. Like, I love his solo album. I really love a lot of Stevie Nicks' weird fucking pop hits. I think that she was like the one person who really was the sound of the 70s and was the sound of the 80s.
Nice.
I
like that. Yeah, that's a good point, Spencer.
Yeah.
I think like solo wise, it makes sense why they're the most successful members of the group.
Yeah.
I don't know if John went solo or Christy went solo. I've never listened to, or never had the desire to listen to any of their solo stuff. So
Yeah, I've never searched it out either.
no,
Because I think the problem that I have with it is that, like, Lindsey Buckingham is just so fucking gifted as a guitar player. Like, that in and of itself. Like, and that's not even, talking about being a vocalist. Like, just as a guitar player. And Nick's is such a phenomenal writer.
yeah.
It's not that the other musicians in the band actually are that bad. Like, I'm obviously making a joke about that because there's a reason they've been around for so long. The problem is that the other two are so good
Yeah.
that everyone else lives in their shadow.
Well, which often happens in bands. Like you go through many famous bands. Same sort of thing. You look at Genesis, Peter Gabriel, and
Yep.
Phil Collins.
Yep.
They're huge artists. If you go through a lot of the big bands,
Actually, speaking of that, did you hear about the final Genesis concert?
no,
Peter Gabriel was in the audience watching,
was he?
and Phil Collins heard about this, so he started like referencing it and kind of like making fun of him in a light way, and he's like, oh, I guess that's why he's yelling play this song and stuff. And then it was great. It was so funny. I watched the whole concert bootlegged. It was
I would love to do some Genesis albums in the future.
I would love to.
I mean, our song is Salisbury Hill.
Our song is Salisbury Hill.
Yeah.
Every time anything comes up where we can do karaoke, we do Salisbury Hill together. We did it at Kramer's in Toronto.
We sure did.
Everyone hated us.
It stems back to, I think one time we were driving in my shitty old car,
Yep.
and we
were
had it
coming
on
down
the radio
14th Street.
and we were just singing it, man. I remember it.
Climbing up on Salisbury Hill.
Yep. Yeah, it's something. Every time the song comes on, I think of Your Ugly Mug.
I know, it's so weird. It's funny because a year before I had a really beautiful mushroom experience and that song came on, and I was with another person, but it was a lady.
Oh.
And we were just staring into each other's eyes, and I was like feeling the vibe. And then a year later, we're driving down 14th and that song came on, and you and I started singing it, and that replaced the first memory.
I was gonna say it's much more romantic. When
It's
me and
much
you
more
sing it
romantic
together.
with the two of us singing
Yeah, I felt the connection. We might have even held hands. I think you grabbed my cock,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. Yeah,
I did grab your cock. It's
Yeah.
a meaty, juicy cock. I have to grab it, okay?
Thank you.
It's
Thank
one time, this is a side note, and then we'll get back to this.
Don't tell this story.
I'm telling this
no,
story.
No, this story is not happening on the podcast.
I was hammered.
No,
We were living. We
No.
were in Toronto.
No,
I was hammered. I was sitting on the porch.
Subscribe to the Patreon.
Subscribe to the Patreon.
You're gonna embarrass me, Spencer.
I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm just going to talk about your big meaty hog. Don't worry. I was hammered. It's like 6
My
a.m.
girlfriend's mom's gonna listen to this.
I know my mother is going to listen to this. I'm hammered. I'm sitting on the fire escape, chain smoking darts. I'm like shirtless.
I had already put him to bed. To
Yeah,
be clear,
Aaron
He
had
was
put me to bed.
Extremely drunk, so I
was-
literally put him into bed,
Yep.
tucked him in. I was like, Spencer, like,
Don't
stay
go
in bed.
out.
I was like, stay in bed. You're fucked up.
Yep. And then Aaron heard me talking on the phone to a lady I was courting at the time.
Yes, he was courting.
I was courting. I was talking on the phone with her. Aaron had been talking to his lady at the time on the phone, and he heard me outside. So Aaron comes out. He opens the door. He's standing in our kitchen, and he goes, Spencer, what the fuck are you doing? And I just sat there for a second, and then I went, yo, your dick is fucking huge.
I was in my boxers. I was fucking half naked. I was like, Spencer, get the fuck inside. And my girlfriend at the time was on the phone, and she was dying laughing. She's
Dude,
like,
both the women that were on the phones with us were crying, laughing.
and he wouldn't shut up about my dick, and then I put him back into bed. And the next morning, I told him the story, and he's like, did I really say that? And I was like, yeah, you did. You really did.
If there's one thing I can distinguish, it's a meaty hog. Okay, speaking of meaty hogs, at the inauguration of Bill Clinton in 1993, Fleetwood Mac reunited.
What a transition. Give the snaps. Sam's giving the snaps. I
fuck.
love it.
Yeah, so they played at the inauguration, all of them. I think they might have played Secondhand News, which was
Nice.
great, coming up with the Bill Clinton events that were to come. I did not have sexual relations with Miss Monica Lewinsky.
I did not have sexual
I did
relations
not
with that woman.
have sexual relations with that woman.
I love Bill Clinton.
I do too.
Even though he's a crazy pedo, Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. I love his Arkansas bliss, I call it.
I played the saxophone
Yeah, I
on
love that he plays
Arsenio
the
Hall.
sax too. He's the Kenny G of presidents. I love him. I love he's,
I smoked marijuana, but I didn't inhale.
I didn't inhale, yeah.
I didn't inhale. Hey, Hillary, you want to be the president too?
Hey, Hillary.
You can't.
God bless the Clintons.
God bless the Clintons. They killed Epstein. Anyways, so then they reunited in '97 as well, and they released their fourth number one album. It had a lot of live recordings on it.
Nice.
It was called The Dance, I believe. I actually don't remember what it was, but I think it was The Dance. It had something to do with dance. It was either The Dance or The Dancer. Sam will put that in post underneath, and I'll look stupid with whatever it is. And then they were all together for literally fucking 20 years after that. And then in 2018, Lindsey Buckingham was fired from the band, and he was replaced by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers guitarist Mike Campbell.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Neil Finn of Split Enz and Crowded House.
I do like Crowded House, but still.
I like Split Enz too. I do like Split Enz.
I don't know if you'd have to remind me.
I got True Colors on vinyl.
Oh, okay.
We can fucking jam it one day.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good album.
Because I wouldn't say I'm super familiar. I mean, I know Crowded House, but I wouldn't say I'm familiar with the other stuff.
I think
Split Ends.
we all know Crowded House pretty well. I think that's a one that we all know. All right, so let's talk about some notable track lists here. Did you not turn off your?
I did not
fucking
turn off
cell
my phone.
God damn it! Who was it?
It was
was
Sam.
You're sending notes to the group chat?
It's for me.
Oh, you
It's
piece
the
of
best
shit.
way for me to
It's
recover.
Sam the Tech Man. Fuck that up. Okay?
Again.
Again.
Sorry, someone didn't turn their phone off.
Good thing you're giving us beer, because I'd be beating your ass right now. Putting him in the back. We're
If you
whipping our
weren't-
slave boy.
If you weren't giving us alcohol, we'd beat the fuck out of you. This is literally the relationship we have with each other.
Yeah, we lock Sam in the closet when we're done, and then we take him out every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Well, it will be every week for a while. And we have some exciting stuff coming up that we're going to announce next week's episode.
Yes,
So,
sir.
well, not next week's, but the week after.
Okay.
Yeah, Halloween episode. We got some fancy things to talk about. I hated that.
I didn't like the way you said that either.
Okay, so notable tracks. There was 4 singles that broke the top 10. You got Go Your Own Way, Dreams, Don't Stop, and You Make Love and Fun.
Nice.
I think out of all of those songs, Dreams is my favorite.
I mean, Dreams is the big song off this album. I mean, I love You Make Love and Fun. Do you believe in miracles? So good. So good.
I have a feeling it's time to try.
But Dreams obviously is the big track, which recently had a massive resurgence because of TikTok.
Dogface 420. He shared it with the very famous video where he's drinking cranberry juice. Longboarding. And honestly, like, I'm not one to normally be like, I love viral trends. That one made me happy.
Yeah, that was a good video, and I liked the way it blew up. I mean,
Yeah.
you see, Mick Fleetwood was doing something. He lives in Hawaii now,
Yeah.
right? And he was like doing something in Hawaii, responding. It was blowing up
Yeah.
everywhere.
Stevie Nicks fucking did the same thing. She put on roller skates and started drinking cranberry juice as well. Like, it was fucking so cool. And like, I really liked that was the one thing in 2020 that brought absolutely everyone together. Nobody had any problems with that because it was so pleasant and uplifting.
Yeah, it was also like for a TikTok video, it was like a massive story. Like it stuck around for a couple weeks, which like almost never happens unless it's like a huge viral trend like that.
And Nathan Apodia, I believe is his name. He's now like legitimately fucking famous.
Yeah, well, he was on like talk shows.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
And it seems like he seems like somebody who really deserved it because he was like living in a trailer and like.
Yeah, well, I saw they decked him out with a new house and gave him a new truck.
Yeah, Ocean Spray hooked him up with like this fucking beautiful like bright red like It was like a Toyota Tundra or something.
Yeah,
like,
nice.
It was so dope. And then and the back of the box was all filled with cranberry juice, which is fucking hilarious because you're never gonna drink that much cranberry
No,
juice.
I don't even like cranberry juice.
No, I only drink it when I think I might get a UTI.
Yeah, that's its only purpose.
Yeah.
Like Ocean Spray, brought to you by UTIs.
Which is ironic that it's called Ocean Spray.
I love the commercials. Is that Ocean Spray, the commercials where they're all standing in the giant bogs?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm a cranberry farmer.
I'm a cranberry farmer.
This is what we do here. And then it's the guy who doesn't know how to be a cranberry farmer that he's teaching, and he does something wrong. And then the old guy just looks at him and then goes, But you know that in real life he'd go, for fuck's sakes. You know, like, I know old farmers. They wouldn't be nice about that.
I've never wanted to be balls deep in cranberries until I saw that commercial. I was like, that looks like fun. Like,
It's also funny that they flood cranberry fields.
I know. It's very interesting.
Other tracks on this album that were great. Okay, we got Never Going Back Again, which I think might be my favorite Fleetwood Mac song.
Also, an awesome song.
Great song. I think Dreams is the best on the album, but I think that Never Going Back Again is my favorite song. If I was just going like based on songs. Gold Dust Woman to end it. Fucking really fun. Really
nice song.
Really nice. You got Secondhand News to start it off with, which, as we've mentioned earlier, is just a fuck me if you can't find anyone else song. And then you got Songbird, which, as you were telling me earlier, not a great song.
Not for me, at least on this album. I wouldn't say it's a bad song. Just, I don't know if it fits on this album, which we were talking about with The Chain, too. The Chain stands out quite a bit. I mean, Songbird is definitely in the genre, but it wasn't doing it for me, I guess is what I can say. Maybe on a different album I would enjoy it more, but in the context of Rumors, it's a bit of a sleeper for me. Not something I was loving.
Yeah. No, I feel that. And I think especially where they put it in the album. Because it's the end of A-side.
Yep.
So you end, like, you start it with this really upbeat thing, you end on this really slow track, and then you flip it over, and it's The Chain.
Yeah. Which, if you guys haven't listened to The Chain before, that bass line is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the song is an awesome song, which is, The Chain is my favorite, I think, Fleetwood Mac song of all time. It's an unbelievable song. A great listen.
Really great song for any movie soundtrack, too. When that came on in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I was really high on edibles when I was watching that movie in the theater. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's the best way to watch movies.
That really is. I like eating a few edibles and then going to the theater.
Getting high and going to the theater is awesome. Getting high at home watching a movie, it's okay. But going to the actual theater is really nice. Because if I'm in home getting stoned watching movies, either I'm really into it or I'm not into it at all.
Yeah. Remember when we got stuck?
You're going to talk about Little Italy.
No. Whoa, my God. I wasn't even going to mention that. Fuck that movie. No, I was going to talk about when Aaron and I were going to go see Last Jedi because I got free tickets, and it had been sold out, and
I forgot about this.
We ate some edibles, we smoked a bong right before we went into the theater, and then it turns out that we got free tickets because it was a multi-level marketing event, and we had to listen to an hour and a half of people talking before the movie started, and so our high wore off by the time that the movie started. It killed the vibe so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And then that was a bad movie too, so it just fucking sucked. Everything about it was bad.
Yeah, they were like pitching something to us. There was like 100 people in this fucking theater.
And the one guy was talking about how his business failed, but he's like, he had no like redemption story.
No, there was no redemption arc.
There was no redemption.
I mean, the movie also had no redeeming.
The movie
also had no redeeming qualities either. So it was just an overall disappointment. We won these free tickets. We talked about it all day because we were working together at the time. We were talking about it at work all day. I was like, oh yeah, let's fucking go. Like, I'm looking forward to Star Wars.
And everybody at work was super fucking jealous because it was impossible to get tickets to The Last Jedi at this time.
It was like the day it released.
It was the day it was actually the day before. It was the late screening.
Yeah.
Nobody could get tickets for it. We were the first ones, and everyone we worked with were uber nerds, and we fucking got to go, and then we had to learn about people being losers. And
yeah,
that
sucked. It sucked, yeah. No, I forgot about that, actually. That's a funny memory. We'll talk about Little Italy another time. That's a whole different story.
Yeah. Okay, so reception of the album. Let's talk about the reception.
People loved it.
Critical fucking success, commercial success.
Album of the year.
In 1977, won the Grammy for Album of the Year. Also, 40 million copies worldwide, which is pretty incredible. It's been on the Billboard multiple times because there has been resurgences of this album.
Like we said, Dreams recently. That
Yep.
shot right up the charts.
Right up the charts. It was number 1, which is insane.
Yeah.
For a song that was released 40 years earlier. It's had multiple resurgences though, and it's an album that I think a lot of people generationally, it hits people differently, you know? Because I find Rumors is an album that like we're talking about it right now because it is a really good fall album. It's a really good seasons changing album. I think more so than their debut, even though that had Landslide. I do feel like this is more of like you're getting rid of the old and you're bringing in something new.
Nice. I'd agree with that too. Actually, I was thinking about that on the drive over. Right now it's fall in Calgary. Leaves are changing colors. I was driving Elbow Drive and, tons of trees. I think I was on, I forget the name of the road. Anyways, tons of trees over by the Elbow River, and it's beautiful. And I was listening to the album on the way over here, and I was like, man, this is like a perfect soundtrack for the fall.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I had that actual same thought, like I said, on the way over here. So certainly a great fall album. And I almost find, like many classic rock albums, the big albums of the 70s, things like that, every generation circles back to it. You listen to it, it still remains relevant. Like a Dark Side of the Moon still remains relevant. Yeah. All these big albums of that time period that stamped a sound, a generation of the 70s, what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
People revisit it, and it still remains current and remains popular.
And I feel like it hits you different at different ages. I really do feel that because I was obviously, I feel like we both probably grew up with it because our parents were tasteful people.
Yes.
Good taste in music. But I remember as a kid it was different than when I was a teenager than when I was in university to now. And different parts of the album hit me at different stages.
Which I think is the beauty of music in general. As you age and grow older, gain life experiences, you relate to songs you've been listening to for, just say 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
You relate to them in a different way, even though you know the song.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of music, I think, in general.
Music's a beautiful thing. Let's make it, baby.
Didn't like that either. Anyways, let's
clip it.
continue.
No. Okay, so let's talk about the culture at the time. I found this quote, which I think is fucking hilarious, about the 70s. It was a decade characterized by frequent coups, domestic conflicts, civil wars, political upheaval, and armed conflicts.
Who said that?
Wikipedia.
See, I find I get a lot of quotes, especially for papers in university. I'm often quoting this man called Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Wikipedia. I'm a big fan of all of his works, actually. It's a great way to top off a paper. Anybody in university right now, make sure you cite Wikipedia, on your papers. 100% factual
100%
evidence
valid.
all the time.
One time when I was in high school, this is the only time I ever was plagiarizing something, I flat out just copied the plot summary of a book and then used that as my essay on the book.
Nice.
And my high school teacher was like, "You're a fucking moron." Like it was like because and she told me about it years later. She was like, "I literally read it and went, Spencer does not write like this. He's not this succinct."
I remember legit, this is like grade 5 or grade 6, I copied and pasted like a whole fucking thing from Wikipedia, and my teacher's like, there's no way you could write this. I was like 12 years old and I wrote this. It's like copied and pasted the entire fucking thing on Wikipedia. I can't remember what book report we were doing.
Oh,
or some
Jesus
bullshit.
Christ.
Yeah,
Everyone only does that once though.
no.
Some people don't
I don't know if that's true or not.
All right, cocaine though.
Yes, cocaine.
We've talked about it earlier, but it was definitely like a big thing in the 70s, and at the time too, Quaaludes were also really big.
Just drugs in general. I mean,
drugs in
start
general.
of the 70s, obviously the hippie era. Vietnam War, people protesting the Vietnam War. Where our album comes in, where Rumors comes in, is kind of at the end of that era. You're transitioning over into the 80s where, things are a little more...
It's more hard drugs.
It's
mixing an upper with a downer, not going on a psychedelic adventure.
Yeah, the things have changed culturally a little bit, but at that point it's winding down from that time. So I mean the perception of drug use and things like that are still pretty laxed. I mean, compared to not even, I wouldn't say now. I mean, lots of people do drugs now, but just the way they were talked about, and cocaine wasn't viewed as this devil drug or this really hard, destructive drug. It was a drug for people with money. People, you know.
Yeah, it was an upper class drug.
It was an upper class drug, and lots of artists at the time, you know, from comedians, from like Richard Pryor to we'll get into that at some point too. But a lot of yeah, that one really gets the fire burning. A lot of
sparks a lot of interest.
It sure does. Makes me you feel the heat with that conversation. Anywho, but drugs, that drug at the time specifically was an upper class drug. It wasn't frowned upon the same way it is, you know, in the subsequent years following into the 90s, into the 2000s, you know, that sort of thing. So it was a, you know, a popular drug to do at the time. And like we were saying too, we were talking about the Vietnam War. That's winding down. Economically in the United States, lots of stuff going on. Gas crisis. There's a little bit of a recession that way.
Yep.
You know, you can't get gas. You know, now gas is through the roof, but at least we can get some.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Well, it's also funny because part of the reason with the gas crisis was because they were getting so much from places like Venezuela and stuff at the time, and then they could not import a lot of the gas. That ended up being a problem, and we're kind of seeing that now too, because like we're having the problem with Russia, where it turns out a lot of our fucking gas comes from Russia.
Yeah, well, especially in Europe. I mean.
Yeah.
So similar, I guess you could argue that it's similar economically to now. There's a lot of uncertainty at that time.
Yeah. One thing that was not uncertain: Watergate.
Watergate. A couple years earlier, but yeah, Watergate definitely happened. Definitely was real.
And
I am not a crook.
I am not a crook. He moves his jowls when he talks. I'm only here because I hated people. I wanted to stay in Vietnam.
Also,
to justify Kennedy's legacy.
For Americans, Canadians do know about American history. You guys should learn a few things about Canadian history. You know, we know everything about the U.S. history.
We learn about world history in high school, not just our own country.
Damn right.
Sorry, Boston Tea Party. I think we learned in grade 7.
You sure did.
Fucking Christ,
you sure did.
Yeah, but Watergate happened, so people, I think this is when people started to not trust politicians.
Yes, I think that's a big part of it as well. And I mean, this is a point in time, too, where protesting, you know, openly speaking out against your government was kind of the more popular thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people were against the Vietnam War. You know, look at the way they treated, well, we talked about this with Bruce Springsteen, man, the way they treated the veterans when they came back, you know, how young men like our age, younger than us, you know, were forced to go to war, forced to go overseas.
Yeah.
Just terrible time to be an American citizen, terrible time to, you know, live in that generation coming up. Like your whole life could be taken away, and
to be forced into war, not even to join yourself, to be forced into it.
For what threat? Like, yeah, if I was forced to go to war to like fight the Nazis.
You know what the threat is? The threat is the commies.
The commies.
Do you want to see the red socialists come in here? I do not want to see any of those reds shouting their free socialist health care. If you want something in this country, you gotta earn it. You don't want to give them anything away. That lowers the value of life. You know what the American dream is. It's work and work and work some more. And if you have any red in your blood, you will not want to work anymore.
Anywho, we'll leave that at that. Anyways, we've talked about it enough. That threw me for a loop. I was not expecting him to go on like a full fucking rant there.
Okay, so let's get to the fun facts and the criticism. All right. You're up first with your fun fact.
I don't even remember what I put. Oh, I was talking about her writing Dreams. So Stevie Nicks, this is why we were talking about this earlier too. Stevie Nicks wrote Dreams in Sly Stone. I thought they were talking about Sylvester Stallone when I heard it the first time. She's like in his studio on his bed. I was like, why was she on his bed? Why does Sylvester Stallone have a studio? Like, is he like Bruce Willis doing the Bruce Willis thing? But no, it's Sly Stone of Sly and the Family Stone who's saying, you know, am everyday people. Anyways, not Sylvester Stallone, not Rocky, not Yo Adrian, not the same person. Anyways, she
probably just wants a new sparring partner for Apollo.
she used to go to his studio, Sly Stone, of Sly and the Family Stone, just to be clear. Used to go to his studio to get away from all the shit going on with the band, long recording hours. So he had a massive bed in the middle of his studio, which I'm sure he just used for sleeping. So he had this massive bed in the studio, and she wrote it on the bed. She wrote the lyrics to the song, and then there was a piano, like, think 70s. There's a drop floor, and there's a piano in the middle of the drop floor, walk down some steps, and she wrote the song on that piano in that studio while they were recording other stuff. That's my one fun fact, I guess.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool story. I watched. If you guys are ever curious about more about the album, there's a documentary on YouTube about the making of Rumors.
I don't think they go into as much detail as we do, though.
No, we're really sticklers for the details.
Sticklers for the facts. My fun fact is that when Lindsey Buckingham was recording Never Going Back Again, the producer, to get as crisp a sound as possible, requested that they restring his guitar every 20 minutes. And so...
Tedious.
Very tedious. Lindsey Buckingham agreed. And then the producer said he felt bad for the guitar tech who 3 times an hour had to restring the guitar all day for multiple days.
Yeah, that sounds like not fun.
But if you listen to it, it does sound very crisp.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, the guitar is one of the main parts of the album.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty wicked. Also, you said Never Going Back. That was actually another fun fact I had. That's the original title of the album. That was the working title.
Really?
Yes, and I was in that documentary. They were talking about how it became Rumors. So John McVie actually suggested the title. Not even just because of what was going on. He just thought it would fit better because the outside, the press was talking about the band quite a bit, and there was lots of stories going on about what was happening within the band. Obviously, divorces when you're a celebrity are public things. Even in the 70s, it was a public thing. So that was kind of why they went with the name Rumors. But it also fits really well because they're singing about each other and singing, their perspective about what's happening in their relationship, their breakups. So it's like almost a perfect title. So that's my other fun fact, I guess.
That's a great fact.
Yeah, that John McVie came up with that title more about what the press was saying.
That's the only thing he's ever contributed.
And the bass line in
the chain.
In the chain, yeah. That too.
All right, so now we got to get into the review. Actually, no, we got to do criticism first, I guess. So my criticism... Don't Stop, worst song ever.
See, I don't agree with that. And I didn't even write down a criticism. I had a hard time coming up with one. But I guess I gave a one earlier about Songbird not quite fitting. And then I'd also say it's a positive and a negative, that the chain stands out so differently from the album. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a great way to start off the second half. I wish there was a couple more tracks. Like you could replace a couple tracks in there with songs similar in tone. I would also be on board with that, but I can't really think of like a real overarching criticism.
No, I'm also kind of struggling with it. That's why I just say like Don't Stop.
Yeah.
But it is partially just because I feel like there's a little too much repetition in that song.
Yeah,
compared to anything else in the album.
And that's your main beef with that song then, is just that it repeats itself over and over.
Yeah.
And that's one of their big songs too, but I can understand that. I mean, it does kind of.
But I understand why it would be a hit too.
Yeah.
Because it's got that commercial appeal. Mm-hmm. All right, now we're into the review of the album.
The review of the album, the real nitty gritty.
When we reviewed our first album, we gave Bruce Springsteen's "Born in the USA" 7.5 out of 10.
Nice.
So we go through this and we talk about the technical element, the musical element, the lyrics, reception, album art, and does it hold up? So we have 6 categories that we have to go through. Mm-hmm. Technical element. I would personally give it like a 9 out of 10.
It's super crisp.
Super crisp.
I would go similar. Maybe I'll just to be different, I'll go 8.5. But it's super, super crisp. Every sound is chosen. And everything done on the album is a direct decision. So it feels like it's been looked over.
There's no fluff in that.
Yeah, fine-tooth comb through everything, and it's purposeful in
Yeah.
everything done with it. So I agree with that. Yeah, I'll give it an 8.5. You give it a 9.
Yeah. So we'll go 8.75 on that.
8.75. Okay.
All right. Musical element. I would say an 8.
An 8.
I would say an 8 only because I think that the songs that are amazing are really, really fucking amazing. Like anything with Buckingham, just fucking finger picking is great. The bass line in the chain is amazing. But I also think that there's things that are lacking. I feel like there's a few moments where like I just feel like there is a little bit of unnecessary things with like the keyboard or like drums in songs, for instance. I feel like there's some songs that just didn't need the drums in them. But I'm not saying that they need to be taken out. I'm saying like maybe it was too much of a focus in the song.
Okay. I could agree with that, I guess. I'd have to, look at it through that perspective and give it a listen. I'm gonna give it musically. I'm gonna give it like a 9.5. I think it's awesome. I mean, all the sounds are real beautiful. I think everything fits really well. They work really well together.
Yep.
Like you mentioned Buckingham. Buckingham's guitar is just unbelievable on this album. So right from the top to bottom, even Mick's Ringo Starr drumming is even good for his standards. So I'm giving it a good rating. I'll give it a 9.5.
I like that. Okay, so we're at a 9
Yeah.
right now. Lyrics, ooh, I gotta give it a 9.
Yeah, giving it a 9.
Giving it a 9. The only reason it wouldn't be a 10 is because some of the repetition in some of the lyrics.
Nice. Yeah, I could say a 9 is pretty fair. I think some of the songs are iconic because of their lyrics. I mean, Dreams is a lyrical song. Like, it's beautiful.
Never Going Back Again.
Never Going Back Again, another one. So I can get on board with that. Yeah, I think a 9's a fair rating.
All right. And then we got to get into reception. It's received very well. Honestly, received better than Bruce Springsteen, despite the fact that it was not as much of a commercial success.
Yeah.
So I would say probably I'd have to drop that one down a little bit, only because of the fact that like its commercial success was not nearly as high as a lot of other artists. So I'd give a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay, 7.5 out of 10. I go 8 just because over time it's grown to be a massive album, so I'll give it an 8.
Okay, so we're at about 8.5 right now overall. Album art. Yeah, I would say it's iconic, but it doesn't look a lot different than Fleetwood Mac's.
Also, I just noticed he's got a set of balls hanging down. I don't know if you can see that on camera. He's got a set of balls.
Dude, I didn't notice that before. What the fuck?
Yeah, he's got a set of balls hanging down. See, I like the front, but I also think I prefer the back.
I think the back does look better.
I think the back is pretty cool.
If we're looking at album art in general, we gotta include the back as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would actually, you know what? I'd probably say 7.5. It's not amazing, but it is recognizable.
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty iconic album.
Yeah.
Like the art wise, yeah, I'll give it. I can agree with that. I mean, I don't want to stray too differently because I feel like we have very similar opinions.
We have very similar tastes.
Yeah, I think the back is pretty awesome. But yeah, that you know what? For the set of nuts, I'm gonna give it a 9.
So right now we're still at an 8.5 for the album, and does it hold up? I'm gonna say yes.
I think it absolutely holds up.
Yeah. So Fleetwood Mac Rumors, 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10. Take that, Bruce Springsteen.
Suck it, Bruce.
Okay, so we're at the end of the podcast. I want to say I am sorry that the first episode I didn't know how to sign off. I didn't know how to end this. It was really awkward. I spent a lot of time just rambling.
Well, we'll start with thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
We appreciate anybody's support that's watching the show. If you have any suggestions, feel free to shout to us on Instagram,
Instagram, TikTok. Leave it in the comments on YouTube or wherever you're listening to your podcast. If it has a comment section, we will read everything. Subscribe to us, like us. It helps with the algorithm. It helps us get more listeners. If you do like us, please tell your friends. That honestly is a big thing. Word of mouth. Word of mouth helps us a ton. Other than that, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.